What's going on, guys? It's Waithe here, and in today's video we are going to be answering some controversial questions that I've asked myself. Who knows what answers I will come up with? Let's find out. Good morning, everyone. It is morning when I'm filming this. I've got my coffee ready to talk about some controversial questions that I've got some answers for. The whole idea of this video is that I've come up with a list of questions that I feel like they're not too controversial. They might be, they may not be, depending on your perspective. Let me have a sip of coffee first before we dive into it. Button. Now, I've got a list that I've created that I feel like I want to know my answer to. So you lot are going to find out my answer at the same time that I do. So I'm going to ask myself these questions and see how I respond. This could be risky or a process of growth and enlightenment. Do you know what I mean? Who knows what my answers could be? But they're unfiltered. So let's just go. Do you know what I mean? My brain's just going to come up with a couple answers. What's your opinion on 9-to-5s? Right. So I feel like recently there's been such emphasis on 9-to-5s versus self-employed, or, you know, the internet kind of promotes this sort of division where it's us versus them. And I feel like everyone, each their own, is on their own individual path. Now, my opinion on 9-to-5s is that I feel like everyone at some point needs to follow a path and find out if they want to stick with it, or if they don't like it, go on a different path. And whether that's through doing 9-to-5s or opening businesses, I feel like it doesn't really matter as long as you kind of figure it out along the way. So I feel like 9-to-5s, if you've got one, if you're doing it, keep doing it. If you want to do it, don't if you don't. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like there should be a whole us versus them. As someone who's an entrepreneur, it can be easy for me to say, well, if 9-to-5ers just left their jobs and worked on themselves and their businesses, they'd make loads of money. But it is, with that also being somewhat true, people have their own right to do whatever they want. So I don't feel like I should dictate which way people should go, especially, you know, it's everything comes with struggles and pain's inevitable. So it depends on which one you're willing to struggle for. So like this job I have and different jobs that I do come with a lot of stress and struggles, but I choose to go down that route because I feel like that's worth struggling for to get the outcome. So I feel like depending on what you do, you know, you're always going to find elements of struggle. So it depends on what you're willing to struggle for. And along the way, you'll learn to maintain the struggle and it won't really feel like one. If that makes sense. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? If you do it, well, just well done on everyone getting out of their bed, getting out there and grafting and working to a better future. Well done to everyone. Well done to everyone. Do you know what I mean? Whoever you are, let's just give everyone a clap. And myself. Also, if you're wondering why I have shades, it's morning, do you know what I mean? I've had a nice sleep. Just had my coffee and I just kind of got this beaming light in my eyes. My retinas are just trying to adjust to the morning sun, do you know what I'm saying? So I just got to chill for a bit. It's not about my eyes anyway, it's about the voice and the convo. Anyway, so what's your opinion on drugs? As I sip a coffee, you know, one of the biggest stimulants in the world. Did you know it's a drug? I'm going to have another sip. See, look at me. Outrageous. I'm going to be pinging after this. Oh, gosh, damn it. Anyway, so just like people's preference on jobs or where they want to work or do, I feel like the same goes for other life indulgences. If people want to experiment and wing their way through life through experimentation of different things, I feel like they should do it. And you know, trust themselves that they can get out of any situations that people put themselves into. But I don't recommend or condone any usage, but I do feel like people have the right of option and freedom of choice. So whatever people want to do and dabble in, they can do. Me personally, I choose to stay clear of any of these hardcore stimulants or anything like that. And I just like to look after my body and my mind by eating good, sleeping good, and just, my input, everything I put in my body, I kind of want to keep clean so I get a better outcome. But that's just my opinion. So, coffee for me, because I've got ADHD, is such a stimulant that it gets me going all day. So honestly, this is the only thing I need, really. As he takes his full sip. I'm in control, Adam. I'm in control. Anyway, so yeah, you know what? It might sound like a boring answer. I know people want to be like, yeah, but you probably smash loads of drugs behind scene. I actually don't. I really don't. I'm a settled down kind of guy. I just kind of like to relax these days, if you know what I mean. So take it how you want it. What's your opinion on celebrities? Now, I feel like the day and age of celebrities is surely coming to an end. I feel like the people have woken up to the idea that celebrities aren't all that they make themselves out to be. They never have been, they never will be. And it's always just been kind of like a marketing PR swoo that the Western society likes to grab onto. And I feel like, as my voice breaks and I'm finally hitting puberty, can't even talk. Yeah, I feel like there are people that are kind of worthy of a praise and attention, and the things that celebrities get, the lifestyle. But I feel like there are just a load of them that are just kind of, you see when you get a cabbage and it's out of date. Well, you don't buy it out of date. It's kind of fresh at start, and then over time, it just you realise it's just a cabbage. Do you know what I mean? It's like any other fruit. So I feel like we've just oh my, what was that one? Yeah. I feel like it also goes with some influences. You can throw me in the pile if you want. Whatever. I just get on with my painting and that, do you know what I mean? But I feel like influencers and YouTubers and some creators and stuff just feel like they are celebrities. And I definitely feel like people just really jump themselves into that category before they're actually able to have any real evidence of why they should be. Especially the internet makes everything so instant gratification that you could post like something today and get the attention and validation you need today. But before, you had to wait like a couple of years before it happened. But now you can sing on TikTok and then suddenly everyone's like, you're the greatest, I love you, wow, I'd follow you to the end in a day. So what does that do in the long run? Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, I just think we're all humans, and a couple of us like to show off our talents. But I don't think we should be kind of idolised as gods. That's it. What's your opinion on Tories? Again, all of these questions sort of add to the narrative of division. It's like us versus them. I'm either not a Tory or I'm a Tory. Do you know what I mean? And I get people's frustration. Times are hard right now. Nothing but push narrative of cost of living crisis, and everything is up through the roof. Brexit basically fueled the fire. So we're now going through consequences of that. Not many people in the youth spectrum of things have voted for these consequences to happen. That's why they're the most livid. But I do really feel like each to their own. If people are wealthy and they've made their money honestly, and they're not hurting anyone, and they're not harming anyone, hurting anyone, and they're not harming anyone, then I feel like they can express themselves how they wish, as long as it doesn't hurt people. But then you could also say, well, politics hurt people. Again, it's a sticky road. We can always point fingers at other people, but it's hard to point at ourselves. So until we can reflect on the characteristics that we all have inside of us, and until we are ourselves deemed as whatever perfection like we're looking for in these people, then I feel like we can't start pointing fingers. Once say you don't like Tories, right? Here's a interesting view. As he goes for his 7th sip of tea, say that you don't have much money, and you're looking at all these Tories with their money, and they're showing it off. You're like old money, and inheritance money and trust fund babies, and it's annoying looking at these people because they're your age and they have just inherited money, or that you see it, and there's a whole category. You could look at one's kitchen and be like, well, they're a Tory. So it's obviously easy to be frustrated at people when you add comparison. You look at what you have and you're like, I don't have what they have, and it can add, jealousy into the mix, and you feel like a child again. You feel like that kid that doesn't have the toy at Christmas. When you look at someone who has something you want, you're obviously going to feel a bit of envy, and it's going to be like, I hate the Tories. You remind me of everything I don't have, so I'm going to not like you. And then you're going to like everyone that's similar to you and not similar to them, because it makes you feel comforted. Do you know what I mean? When you feel like there's similarity around you, it's comforting. But when you see someone that isn't the same as you, then it's, a bit like, well, why do you have that? Well, I don't know. But then imagine, say that you don't have the money, and then over time you suddenly gain money and you suddenly gain a lot of wealth. And now let's say you have a family as well. So you're wealthy, you have a family, you have a house. My family safety is the number one priority. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to do everything in your power to make that happen. So you kind of become more conservative with your money. If you express your views out into the world, it gets a bit more risky because you have a family, you have a lot more to lose, basically. And I feel like that's where people start to tend to change their political sways around 35, 40, is when they stop becoming kind of like the uni rebels, where they've just suddenly rebelled against their parents' views, or, they don't have that kind of passion that they used to, where it was protesting every 5 minutes when you had more free time. But now when you're in a family, you have lots of different things to get sorted. I feel like there are pros and cons on both sides, and I don't feel like we should be blaming each other. It never gets anything done. It never will do. It's history basically repeats as long as we keep divided. And you can watch and listen to anything regarding history or read some books on it, and it will literally predict the future if we continue having a divide. So my opinion on Tories is, let everyone be who they are, unless they are hating or hurting other people. Because I know that you might say, well, they are hating other people, but then it's just one big mix of everyone hates something. And, like, I hate them and they hate me because they're hating them. And it's all very childish. I feel like from a mature and an emotional maturity point of view, you have to kind of neutralize feelings and emotions in these situations and look at things a little bit, more logically, because then you can get progress instead of being held back by judgments. But that's my answer. Never a quick answer. That's why, it's never a quick answer. And also, if I'm looking over there, it's because the screens, I can see myself in that, and I know it's a bit vain, but sometimes staring right into the lens is a bit intimidating. It's like if I was just to stare at you in your eyes, it's just a bit awkward, isn't it? Anyways, as he goes for his 8th sip of tea, almost spills it. What's your opinion on cancel culture? Now, let me just start with culture in general. Culture. Oh gosh, as I knock the camera, the culture in general has always been interesting to me, because people tend to follow cultures so blindly that it's quite interesting. I just have to. This is my opinion, because I tend to stay clear of following the crowd, because wherever like the crowd goes tends to be a little bit of a danger zone, because wherever the masses go, there seems to be conflict, and there seems to be division, and there seems to be just conflict of opinion, and so I definitely feel like people like to jump onto things very easily these days without actually using their thinking brain. They're using their feeling brain. And my opinion on cancel culture is that it's so interesting that we're in this day and age where people genuinely are waiting for people to fail and then cheer it on, like witch hunts back in the day. And I feel like people are fair to be held accountable, but I also feel like that level of accountability has to be held by the person giving it also, so it's an equal conversation rather than us versus them again. Everything kind of goes back to us versus them, because when the internet was introduced, it was introduced to kind of bring communities and ideas and new thoughts and freedom of speech together. But it also kind of filtered a lot of people's projections and expectations and judgments and everything into one world. And there's no filter for that. So everyone's coming together to kind of collectively either dump their trauma, project their trauma, identify their shit, or just, they just try and learn new things, or it's just endless typing and saying random stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a really healthy playground to be in. The internet in general isn't healthy to be in, especially if we're trying to dictate what's right or wrong. Who is to decide what's right or wrong based off whose moral ground? If we're all in this random internet playground together, it's very hard to decide and get the facts correct. I feel like once something starts like this, the momentum gets going, and it builds a big feeling in people that they have this power online and they can tear people down without the power of doing so in real life. And it's very interesting to see, and fair play to people that have the power, because power to the people. But I feel like when people get power, they need to be careful of the responsibility that comes along with it. And the interesting thing is, the people hold more power than they realize. And if they collectively got together and used this power against anything that is corrupt, it would tumble it down. We see it day after day. So I feel like once people realize that they hold this power in real life, not just online, then that's when real change happens as well. Once people can start using that power they use online in their own lives, with the people in their intimate circles, with their family, speak that confidently with their family, speak that passionately with their friends and their partners. Do you know what I mean? It then is when real change happens. But I feel like hopefully, as long as people aren't just using the internet and keyboards and typing and cancellations and everything as a power trip and a way to validate their own feelings online instead of in reality, it's like reading a book but not implementing what you've learned. So that would be my only concern. But if people are implementing what they know and their newfound power and sense of authority online in real life, then I feel like that's a good thing. But I feel like if they are pretending to be this person online and they say they're all this confident, authoritative figure, or even, they can type all of these things, but then in the real life they can't really say anything or give that same energy, then I feel like that's when the facades are happening. But if you can bring that energy in real life, then fair play to you and fair play to everyone. The next question: where do you think the world is going in 5 years' time? Now, I feel like the world has completely reset in a way that I never expected would happen in our lifetime. Now, after COVID, everything kind of went into a different kind of path. Everyone's lives were stopped and they could do what they wanted from that point. It's like everyone had a great awakening and realized we were all just doing what we were doing. We're like, oh shit, here we are, we're on Earth. There's something I thought the other day: whatever age you entered COVID, it's the age that you woke up. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all kind of were like, oh, wait, there's something dangerous happening. And whatever you were like autopiloting before came to a halt. So now I feel like people, whatever's happening now in the world is going to be an effect of how people dealt with COVID. So if you were highly anxious or nervous or everything like that during COVID, now every action that you do from leaving the house now is going to kind of hopefully improve, but also have a reflection of those effects of what happened during lockdowns. And I think that's going to have a toll on people for the next 5 years. And I think the next 5 years we'll be seeing the results and consequences of the COVID time, not because of the illnesses, just because of the psychological effects. And I feel like people under that amount of stress, it does change people. So I feel like people right now are in their angry stage and they want change because they've realized that they've been living a lie and life's been a bit more difficult than it should have been. And I feel like now people are going to be wanting that change to happen, but hopefully over the next 5 years, people will then begin to heal and thrive through what they've survived. Otherwise, history will repeat. People will get even more angry. It will take one person to say one thing to then spur a load of people to do one thing, and then wars start, and then wars begin, and then we all have to enroll, and there we are. Do you know what I mean? This story repeats, and then it's our thing that we have to heal from, and then our grandchildren have to heal from that. But it can go either way. Do you know what I mean? I can only predict from my outcome, but then people in power have the power to change the whole outcome of whatever they want. Playing God isn't a fun game for them, but they continue to do it. So it's a very interesting world we live in. But this is where we have to individually thrive and strive for our own equal, peaceful narrative, or whatever narrative you want that doesn't entail hurting other people. Because you can do what you want. That's like people like doing boxing, and they say it heals some part, which is fair enough, and it keeps people fit and sane. They're going to the gym and everything. So, it's each their own at this point. And I feel like that's what people will realise, is that less noise on the internet is going to be needed, less scrolling on TikTok, less escaping the world, and then trying to get back into nature. Hopefully. There's obviously the opposite, where it's like people could just be living in VR worlds and everything's just a completely different society where people don't actually connect. So we things are going to go fast, and I feel like things move faster than they used to, and it's hard for the older generation to comprehend, because with the advancements of technology, everything is going to move so much faster than it used to before. Whereas someone could live a lifetime and see no change in their entire life, we will see change in 5 years that people won't see in their entire life back in the day. So it's unpredictable, and that's why it's quite exciting if you can see it as a endeavor. But if you're dependent on the system and reliant on all this constant narrative that the government is spewing, then it's going to be a hard road. What's your definition of happiness? So my definition of happiness has changed so many times. It's actually incredible, because I find that at the start I thought it was the pursuit of happiness, like the film. I used to watch that and be like, wow, it really is about struggling, and then you find the opportunity, and it's all about the hustle, and you've got to get up early, and you've got to get in the office and accept value of yourself that isn't actually accurate. But then over time, as I started to reflect and make money and notice what I want to do, happiness doesn't come from the job. It comes from enjoying the process. And I also feel like the word happiness is being used and strained and changed over history, because happiness is such a fleeting emotion. You shouldn't always go for the pursuit of happiness, because the world is actually quite a paradox. A paradox of emotions. It's not one thing. I feel like if we're able to observe and realize that every emotion is kind of the point of life, to feel through it instead of kind of wanting to feel happiness all the time. I like to say that I'm content rather than happy, because happiness means that the opposite of happiness is sadness. So if you're saying you're entirely happy, that means you've had to bear the truth of sadness. And I feel like being content is probably nicer for me to strive for. So that's my definition of happiness, kind of contentment, because it's just one of those things where there's not much more. You just are content. I'm content right now. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice feeling being content. It means I'm grateful, and that's all I kind of strive to have, gratitude. So that's probably my definition of happiness. What's your ideal day look like? My ideal day would have to do with some sort of water sport. So I've got a paddleboard, and my ideal day would be wake up, have a nice breakfast, nice and early. Do you know what I mean? When you get up and it's those hot summer's days where you get up early and it's just lovely, just before it gets too hot. Do you know what I mean? You can have your breakfast and you're not sweating. It's a nice time. So yeah, I'm gonna have my little breakfast, maybe a nice little, fruit bowl with a bit of yogurt and a nice bit of sourdough bread, maybe a bit of scrambled eggs. Who knows? Might treat myself. orange juice on there, little Barocca to keep the vitamins up, and then I'll stroll down to the beach and just get on my paddleboard and just kind of soak up the sun and the sea and just go for a little swim, have a great time. I've also got a nice little picnic kind of water bag that I can put my lunch in, maybe a little beer or something. I don't know, do you know what I mean? Have a little time of speaker and then chill and then just hang out with some friends, chill out. My girlfriend, we're all out there. And then, bosh, we'll just, have a nice little lunch. do you know what I mean? Just ride the day out, then have a barbecue. I just want a real chill day. I don't really ask for much. I really like the simple things. I feel like chasing these really fast days and it's just exhausting. I like the slow pacedness of a day and then doing some nice sports. It doesn't take it too much out of you, not too much running. That's why I like paddleboarding, because you can just float in the sea and just chill. It's unreal. Do you know, you're floating, bobbing, ooh, I'm under the sea, selling condoms for 99p. That's not how it goes. That was the one I made up in school. Unless everyone used to say it. In that case, I was lying, because someone made it up. I don't know. As he takes his ninth sip of coffee. Anyway, so what's your opinion on money? Also, my opinion on money has changed also. It's one of those things where it's like, you've got to make it. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you've got to make money. Otherwise, society isn't run all freely, and handouts don't come easily. So it's not one of those ideal societies where I can go, I don't like it, so I like it. Do you know what I mean? I do like money. I do like making it. I like having it. I like spending it. I don't like hoarding it. I don't like saving it. I do like spending it. I feel like money should flow through us instead of like trying to have so much and hoard it. The thing is, I love spending my money on experiences rather than actual materialistic things, and I've been the same for the last 10 years. But that is the end of my controversial questions, if they are that controversial. I'd just like to share my opinion, and I hope you get my perspectives. I like to keep an open mind with these kind of conversations and these questions. So it was nice listening to myself answering these questions, because you don't really get the answer to these sort of things unless you ask yourself them. So try and ask yourself some difficult questions and see what your answers are yourself. Maybe answer the questions that you heard in this video. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and give a comment down below, and maybe ask a question that I will answer in a future video. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a cheeky thumbs up and share it around your friends. I will see you in my next video. Peace out.